Tony, do we have a quorum, please?
Mayor Ross, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Would you all join me in standing for a moment of silence? We will have the pledge. Thank you. Please join me in the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have some public comments, but I understand they're on item number 8, so we'll wait till we get to that item. Item number 1, approve the city council meeting minutes of November the 12th, 2024. Has everyone had a chance to review, and do we have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the minutes for November 12th and 24th.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Next item, to approve resolution for Parker County Appraisal District Board of Directors nomination. Mr. Grimes?
Yes, we take this vote annually. In visiting with Sterling Naren earlier last week, when he received so most of the votes are allocated to the school districts. So cities and municipalities have very, very little voting power. As you can see, we have 55 of the 5,000 votes, so about 1% of the total votes. Aledo ISD casted all their votes for Sterling Naren. I believe Jerry Durant got similar recognition last year. Those were who we separated our votes with, I believe, either last year or 2 years ago. And so staff recommends that we cast our 55 votes for Cody Lane. He is on the Brock School Board. I think he's the secretary of the board at PCAD, and he was highly recommended for our votes.
Any questions for Mr. Grimes, or do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution electing Cody Lane for the Parker County Appraisal District Board of Directors and cast all 55 votes for Cody.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Next item, for the approval, discussion, approval for the renewal of North Texas Inspection Services contract. Bill?
Mayor, Council, this is, we'll be entering into our second year this is for a backup inspections in case Randy Law or one inspector is now sick or vacation. This is no change in the contract that was agreed upon, approved 1 year ago. The fees have not changed, still $150 commercial, $75 all residential. I believe we used this company 4 times the previous year, so we're asking for approval of this agreement.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions? Or do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with North Texas Inspection Service to provide inspection services.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Next item, discussion and approval for the renewal of 2 Lamar billboard contract leases for City Hall frontage at eastbound and westbound I-20. Mandy.
So we're asking, so the contracts for last year, we approved in November of 2023 and February of 2024. The 2 contracts for our billboard that's outside, paying with the city's hotel occupancy tax. The billboards are getting over 5,000 views weekly. You can see the stats that we've attached if you want to look at that. The rate for each of these has increased by 3% for a total of $32,136 per board, so each side. And again, we have the hot tax available too. So the staff is recommending the authorization of the hot funds for the renewal of the billboard advertising contracts for the eastbound and westbound Lamar billboard sign referenced above.
Okay. Any questions, or do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to authorize the use of hotel occupancy tax funds for renewals of the billboard advertising as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Next item, discussion and take action for approval of a resolution declaring the city's intent to begin annexation of approximately 7,313 feet of East Bankhead Highway right-of-way, comprising approximately 10.98 acres of land into the territorial limits of the city of Willow Park, directing city staff to prepare a service plan for the extension of municipal services to the proposed annexation area, and setting 2 public hearings on annexation.
You want to handle it, Pat, or you want me to?
I can. Did we get the resolution from?
We do not have it yet, but it did pass
Okay.
5-0 yesterday.
Good deal. Well, council, this is the resolution that will essentially accepting the Parker County Commissioner's request that we annex Bankhead to get to the Beldine Ranch property, which we also passed a resolution at the last meeting declaring our intent to annex it. This will, the state legislature passed a new law which allows us to go down these right-of-ways to get the property, and that's what we're doing here to get to the Beldine Ranch. So this will be the first step. We'll have a public hearing on, I think it's January 14th.
Yes.
We'll have 3 public hearings at that time, 2 for this road, and then 1 for the Beldine Ranch. And then following that, we'll have to wait 20 days to then adopt a resolution to annex. So that is kind of the steps in the process, and this is the first step to get this road in to our city limits. Any questions? I'll be glad to answer it.
Is that a minimum of 20 days, or is it a hard 20 days?
It's a hard 20 days.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, do we need to have a called meeting?
No.
Okay.
It's at least 20 days you have
Okay,
to wait.
that's what I was
So,
asking.
yeah, no, you're
Thank you.
fine. Yeah. You're fine.
Okay, any questions for Pat, or do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve a resolution declaring the city's intent to begin annexation of approximately 7,313 feet of East Bankhead Highway right-of-way, comprising approximately 10.98 acres of land into the territorial limits of the city of Willow Park, directing city staff to prepare a service plan for the extension of municipal services to the proposed annexation area, and setting 2 public hearings on annexation.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion for Pat? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Next item, discuss and take action to authorize Jacob and Martin to produce a spacing study and plan for the use of the city's building located at 120 El Chico and form a committee to oversee the project.
Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem and Council, Mayor Pro Tem Young requested a spacing plan for the entire city building, determining the city's future needs. Staff contacted Tal Fillingham of Jacob and Martin, who is the architect for this request. His proposal is in the packet for not to exceed $8,000 for this. Staff recommends the council form a committee of council members and city staff to provide assistance at completing this task and provide recommendations to the council by May of 2025.
Okay? Do we do the committee tonight? Or we do the committee later?
Tonight.
Pardon?
Tonight, I believe, is part of the,
You have the ability to do it tonight, yes.
I would request that I could be on the committee since I requested so I'll jump in there first.
I'd like to request to be on the committee as well.
How many do we need or want?
You can only have 2 council members and you.
Then we have or somebody want to make a motion for Leah and Eric to be on the
Do we
committee?
need to name the staff members?
You can if you like, or you can just,
Staff can attend.
yeah, I mean, I can appoint staff members.
Doyle, would you like to be on the committee?
Yes.
I will move to authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Jacob and Martin for the purpose of producing a spacing plan for 120 El Chico and forming a committee, including council member Eric Contreras, myself, Leah Young, and Doyle Moss.
Second. You got it.
Yeah. You can second yourself, Ken.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you. Next item, discuss, take action to consider the Squaw Creek Street and Utility Improvement Project. Gretchen?
Mayor, council, this next agenda item is for the water line upgrade and reconstruction of Squaw Creek, Viota, Mesa, Cactus, and Verde roads. These streets are located in the Squaw Creek Estates West subdivision. I do have a PowerPoint. So the city of Willow Park strives to maintain its roadway network as best as possible. Streets that have exceeded their life expectancy and can no longer be effectively maintained are considered for reconstruction as a capital project. The reconstruction of these streets, if approved, will become the street maintenance project to be performed during the next paving season. This project also includes upgrading the existing 6-inch water lines. Squaw Creek is classified as a collector. It has a 60-foot right-of-way width, and it's about 1.5 miles. It collects traffic from local roads such as Viota, Mesa, Cactus, and Verde. As you can see from the Google Earth image, it'll be on the previous slide, Rose, it is slide number 2. The asphalt pavement surface has deteriorated. This is typically a result of both environmental and structural causes. Environmental due to weathering and aging, and structural caused by the repeated traffic loadings. On the slide, I have a pavement condition rating of poor, but it should read very poor, or if not fail. As far as the utility work goes, staff is proposing to upsize the existing lines, water lines, and replace several undersized culverts. I've got a slide that shows the pavement surface condition on Squaw Creek Road. I think it's slide number 3. Yeah, that one. The upper left photo shows extensive loss of surface material. There's potholes caused by traffic loading, fatigue, and inadequate pavement strength. Alligator cracks due to the inadequate base for subgrade support. These cracks allow water to get into the pavement and weaken the subgrade. They tend to widen with age. There's a photo there showing some distortion, the ripples and bumps in the pavement, and some rotting or displacement of unstable material. So the proposed streets will need to be reconstructed. So we're proposing a full reconstruction with extensive base repair. It'll consist of pulverization of the existing asphalt along with a portion of the underlying base. We'll be applying a P2 stabilizer, which is it's like asphalt emulsion soil stabilizer, which is what we use on Hensley Road. So we'll do the P2 stabilizer to create a stabilized base, reshape, compact, and resurface with hot mix asphaltic concrete pavement. We're proposing a ribbon curve along the edge of the asphalt pavement on Squaw Creek. slide on the drainage, I think it's the one before that one, one more. Yeah, that one. This slide shows an 18-inch culvert, reinforced pipe. According to our drainage master plan, this culvert is undersized, along with several others on Squaw Creek Road. We're proposing to upsize those culverts to convey the design of the store. Okay, next slide. So as I mentioned earlier, this project also includes the upsize or upgrading of the existing water lines. That's approximately 14,130 linear feet of water line. We've had 12 to 15 water main breaks in the past year, year and a half, and there's been a lot of water loss.
We've estimated like 12 to 15 significant leaks along Squaw Creek and the surrounding area with a roughly estimated 1.5 to 2 million gallons of water loss over the last roughly year and a half. And some of them are significant. I've had to replace 40 plus feet of pipe on some of these major breaks.
And what's the pipe made of right now?
It is, I classify it as gray electrical conduit. It was put in the late 70s. And hearsay from what I was told, it was used pipe, even back in the day.
So does that water line run the full extent of Squaw Creek from
Yes, it runs the full extent.
Ranch House all the way down to?
Yes, Ranch House to the tie-in at the back of Sandpass.
Okay. And then on your diagram, you showed whereas the pipe was offset under the, is it gonna, under the road, or is it actually gonna be off to the side under the drainage line? I mean,
It should stay off in the easement.
At the side of the road in the partage.
okay. So what's, my understanding was that the pipe was gonna be under the road mostly, and that's why we were going with asphalt. So what's the driving it to go to asphalt, since we have had some bad history with asphalt falling apart quickly after installation? I know this is thicker, but,
Yeah, we did various comparisons between doing a concrete road versus an asphalt road versus a chip seal. And we think that the rehab technique that we're proposing, which is the asphalt, would be a cost-effective technique, surface treatment technique. But the water right now is outside of the pavement.
Okay.
We'll keep it outside.
so do we know what, from a rough estimate, what's the difference in cost between concrete and the proposed solution?
So I think I was coming up with another maybe $1.5 to $2 million for the concrete paved road.
So you got, what, 4 million? Is,
And those are preliminary estimates.
so concrete could be as much as 7 to 8, you
Yeah,
think?
I came up with a higher number for the concrete road.
What's the expectancy for lasting between like the proposed asphalt road and if we did upgrade to concrete? Is there like a 5, 10, 15-year difference in the lifespan of a road like
The
that?
concrete tends to, last longer, but I think it all depends on the way it's constructed,
Sure.
more so.
Are we, as a ballpark, are we talking a 5-year difference or a 20-year difference?
If it's built right, concrete should last about 20
Okay.
years.
And the asphalt?
We've had some roads out here that we've reconstructed. Well, the ones we just did, we line stabilized the subgrade. I think the ones that we've done in the past didn't have any soil stabilization. So, and that provides subgrade, so, a pavement, a better pavement structure.
Right.
Support.
So you're proposing, so how thick of asphalt are we talking, again, compressing is
6,
6 inches total
yes,
thickness?
yes.
And then the,
Squaw Creek.
Yeah, so the,
The side streets, we were gonna go with the 2-inch.
okay,
They're local roads. Squaw Creek, because of the traffic loading, we
Sure.
were gonna do 6 inches
okay,
to be able to support that traffic load. Because collectors typically see heavier traffic, so a thicker asphalt course, would create a pavement structure that would support that.
okay.
So 6 inches in Squaw Creek, and then 2 inches on the side streets.
And what do you need to start engineering work? What has to be done?
Professional services.
We would probably need to go we would need to go under contract with Jacob and Martin specifically for this project to outline services. What they're going to provide to us, what we will provide to them. And we can do that in upcoming meetings.
Okay,
So you're looking at, looks like less than between $500,000 and 800,000 for the engineering and surveying for I'm adding your various tables for road and water. So the professional service agreement we'd need to be able to have that much money for that.
That, and I guess it would have to be negotiated.
Right, right.
But I think I used 20%
Okay,
in there, but
and that covers both the water line and the road construction, or?
I broke it,
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to-
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
there's
she's
3 different,
she's got her standard 12%
Okay.
at the bottom of each table.
yeah, for budgeting for the for the services agreement.
Yeah.
Less than $1 million, probably 750, let's say, 500 to 750.
I think the one, for the one we just did, it was like 450.
Okay.
For the 2022 street improvements project.
Okay.
So tonight, we're making a motion to approve the engineering, is that correct?
The report.
The report.
We were gonna bring that contract,
Yeah, but this was just informational. We can bring the contract up in 2 weeks and have a solid number for you. I'd much rather have a solid number than y'all just approve a service contract agreement.
So you can have that in a couple of weeks? and
Yeah.
We can get this
We can-
kicked off?
We can have that December meeting, January at the very latest? Yes, sir. Okay. I will say this, just kind of back of the napkin stuff here. Since you're doing both water and street work, it's a big number, obviously. But if you break that out, you're looking at adding 5.5 to interest and sinking, and then roughly 4.5, depending on how I round the numbers, for self-sustaining or self-supporting debt, which would be water, which would not go on your interest and sinking rate.
So I think that's what we're looking for the next phase is the financing of that and whether it would require, as you said, some of this would go under water and see how it affects the water fund. Some would go under drainage. And I'm talking about the services agreement.
Yeah.
But the idea of would it require issuing debt for the engineering of the roads? And if that's the case, and if we have to issue a small amount of debt to get the engineering started for this project, are there other things that we want to consider?
Yes.
I think the next discussion is how do we pay for the first phase of this?
Yeah. There's a number of small projects that if we wanted to do some sort of financing mechanism, we could combine them together, if that's where you were going.
That's where I'm going. We had a couple of things like a bathroom for the parks, for Kingsgate, some things like that, but that's where we've been trying to get a number for what we need to spend in the spring for various
Yeah.
small projects.
So there's no action taken tonight?
No. No, sir.
Brian,
Yes,
I know we used some of our ARPA money for,
that's gone.
it is all gone?
Yes.
Okay, just was going to confirm that.
So my other, next question is we've got, outside of Squaw Creek, you've got those 3 or 4 of the roads identified. But some of those other roads, like Kingsgate, from the top of Kingsgate all the way to Squaw Creek, goes up, and I forget what the connector is across there. Is that,
Royal View?
well, I mean, that's also in pretty bad shape, and I don't know how heavily that road gets used. Do we need to expand that?
We could certainly, we could do a chip, not chip seal, what's the word I'm looking for, Chase? What we did on Emsley?
That was a chip seal.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we could look at potentially chip sealing or overlaying. We just left that off of this presentation because it's a larger subdivision in its whole. So,
Don't we have a contract out for paving assessment for the whole city?
Yes.
When do we expect to see that?
I think, I don't know, we just submitted our GIS shape file so that they could, get started, but they haven't been out here
Okay.
yet. I think I think it was gonna be like 4 or 5 months, you know, but
We did that in October?
I think it's
Yeah.
October or September.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you feel comfortable without that assessment proceeding with the Squaw Creek, with engineering for Squaw
Yeah,
Creek and
Based
Yucca?
on the pavement
Okay.
condition and the distress on that road.
Okay.
And our field observations, yeah, it needs a full reconstruction. It's the other ones, I guess we need that study to be able to tell what type of maintenance technique we're gonna use. Do we wanna overlay? Do we wanna do a chip seal? Is it a full reconstruction? And that study's gonna give us what it's the PCI index, it's a number. But based on that, we should be able to tell what we should be doing on that road.
Okay, any other questions for Gretchen?
Also, one other quick thing, I want to emphasize this. The driving factor for Squaw Creek, obviously the street's in bad shape, but the water is probably the most urgent issue and need. We have a number of people, in fact, there's a certain resident that would probably relish the fact that we're putting in new water lines because he lives at the bottom of a hill and he's getting the bulk of the water leaks in his yard. The water line, I didn't believe this. About 2 years ago, I went out on a water leak on New Year's Eve, and it is gray conduit pipe that is brittle. And I don't see how they got away with it in the 70s, but I quit asking questions about what y'all did in the 70s. But that has to get replaced. That's the urgent need here. That's the compelling factor in my mind.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Gretchen. Thanks, Chase. Item number 8, Crown Road update. We have some public comments. Up first, and Ms. Teresa Palmer. State your name and address. We have
Teresa, if you would just allow me 1 second, please. I want to just reiterate for the record that in your council packets that went out on Friday, you received a staff memo where we were not going to recommend any more installation of speed humps. After consultation with Derek Turner yesterday and staff, we have revised our recommendation to include the 4 speed humps. And so staff recommendation is to install the 4 additional speed humps. I believe we have a schematic that Nick put together back in June. That's still the approximate locations for those speed humps. And so on that note, I just want everybody to know that staff sent out a revised memo to council yesterday. Ms. Palmer.
Teresa, you're up.
Okay, I wanted to thank the administration and city council for letting us have our 3 minutes. We really appreciate the time. Thank you also for our 14 feet minimum driveways being put back. Not all the way, but put back there. A few things I wanted to ask about, and one of them just came up, is why are we having any kind of discussion about city council voted June 11th after the residents paid for the engineering firm to do the study and advised the 7 humps to keep the residents safe on Crown Road. I don't live on Crown Road, but was it the administration that changed it to 3? Because I thought the council had to vote on it. I don't get that, but I don't know enough about it. The colonel, I met with mayor in October to ask, but he didn't know at that time. He was going to check in. So how did anyone change it back to 3 humps? I thought the vote from city council stood. Again, I don't know enough about it. Thank you, Leah Young, for your leadership in keeping 7 humps, because I know we've been at 7, then 3, and then yesterday at 7. So again, thank you, Leah, for taking care of that for us. I think to remedy a lot of the issues we had talked about before with the residents is have the city again improve communication to the residents. This is a moot point because it just went in. The $64,000 for a 1-year lease on the hotel occupancy tax is where that money, I've just learned, is coming from billboards sitting above us here that I really never even knew were there, and drove by this afternoon to look up and go, wow, there's a billboard. A lot of people, I think, will put in where they're going, like to their GPS, they're going to restaurants or wherever, and I can't imagine a 1-year lease of $64,000 with all the other money that we need for roads and everything else. It just sounded like a whole lot to me. So I was curious, but again, it's a moot point. It just went in, it just got done. So we just spent $64,000 in 2 seconds, got approved, and we're still trying to figure out humps a year later. And I was curious too about how much it costs to move a park. I didn't understand why we're moving a park, but a lot of those things I don't understand. I'm trying to understand. I know y'all aren't answering tonight, but those are some questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Hoops.
Good evening. Mayor, excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem, City Manager Grimes, Council. I just want to say it's a pleasure to be here. This is a packed house. This is pretty amazing. I want to thank all of our residents for taking time out of your evening to be here. This is a good start, a good communication between residents, the council, the staff. I'm not going to take any credit for it. I am fortunate to be in a lot of networks with a lot of people. You know, what started out on our road is, trying to get some driveways done, get some traffic slowed down. That network has grown into geographic areas that are just blowing my mind. They really are. It's all the way across the highway now, the networks that we're building. And the folks that are here tonight that took the time out to come speak to you guys, I just urge council to listen to the things that they have to say. This is such an opportunity for us to interface, and I'd like to keep it in a positive way. Me personally, I want to say thanks to the council. Mr. Grimes, I really want to say thank you to you for all the work your staff has done. I'm government. I understand what the staff does. The staff is the grease that makes the cogs and the gears run. It's not an easy job. Being the grease sucks because you get churned up. The leaders make decisions. The staff is the grease that makes it happen. Thank you for all the work from your team and your departments. To our leaders here, Mayor Pro Tem, I got to say a personal thanks to you. As it all relates to the speed humps on Crown Road, I'm not going to reiterate what Teresa said. We all know the timeline, June 11th, 7 to 3, 3 to whatever it was. And then finally, there was a recommendation that came out Friday. I appreciate the opportunity to have civil discourse with staff and with leadership to say, some of the things here don't look right. And you took what we had to say and you took it to heart, and you actually went and took a deeper dive into it and said, let's talk to our engineers. And I love the fact that the city is carrying out an engineering solution to a problem that requires an engineering design. It's the one thing that makes sense. No one can argue. I really look forward to the outcome on tonight, whatever it is. I'm not sure that it needs a vote, but that's up to you guys to decide because it was voted on in June. But we're here to support you guys and to show our support for the positive outcome that we're all looking for on that. So again, we just care about the safety, security. It is a thoroughfare of our city, so it's not just our safety, it's the commuters that come through there, it's the pedestrians, it's the cyclists, it's the kids, it's the parents, it's the everyone in this room that might be on that road. So my personal thanks to you for bringing this up tonight and making this happen.
Thank you. Sam Munich?
That's me. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, staff. I won't take my full time since this was already resolved. I did want to say thank you very much for taking the time. I know, Ms. Young, you had a big part in that. As a father to 2 young kids, the speeding issue on Crown Road personally affected me, obviously. It was nice to know that I wasn't alone in that, and was asked to represent those that live on a road, and as the Colonel mentioned, everybody else in the city. I grew up out here, spent a little time away, came right back. It's awesome to see that the diligent work of the staff to take our frustrations and our concerns to heart. Council for acting on our behalf. So I just want to take my time to say thank you, both personally and on behalf of everybody else that lives in the city. So that's all I had, and thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Marsh Wirshausen?
Marsh Wireshausen, 70 Crown Road, Council. Crown Road, how cheap can we do this? First off, thanks, you expanded my driveway. I appreciate that. However, your contractor told me that all these drives in my area should have curbs, given the ditch that exists on each side. I asked, but you refused. You refused to listen to your hired contractor. How cheap can it be done? I've already had a vehicle fall off the expanded drive. I'm not even going to bring up the lack of completeness around the expanded drive. You again hired an engineering firm to give you a design on speed humps. You didn't even put in half of the recommended. Since the installation, I have not witnessed one time that a patrol officer monitored speed. We put up electronic monitors, and to my knowledge, with a speed monitor of 40 to 45 miles an hour. Why this speed? It's a 30-mile-an-hour zone. I witness on a daily basis the excessive speed coming down the hill, as well as exhaust noises of gas pedals being mashed to the floor going up the hill, all because everyone knows not another speed hump and I can go faster. I witnessed a vehicle recently come down the hill, and I estimated the speed to be 50 to 55 miles an hour. Did not even hit the brakes. You built the International Raceway, you need to control the International Raceway. However, we spend dollars buying advertisement on Aledo High School scoreboards. We will spend dollars to move a park that is fine right where it is at, that also contains trees planted in loved ones' honors. We have a former church that could be purchased and become a useful community center, but we'd rather destroy the neighborhood with the business. The right thing needs to be done for the residents, nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Carol Bracken?
Good evening. I'm Carol Bracken. My husband and I live at 73 Crown Road. Thank you very much for allowing us to address you this evening. First, I too want to thank staff, for reconsidering the recommendation to this council. All of us, the residents on Crown Road, daily watch the traffic on that street. I encourage you to have the engineering firm and the staff consult with the residents on Crown Road on the placement of these 4 additional humps. It's clear to those of us who live there that the placement that we currently have is not optimal. And if this is going to be the last thing that's done by the city to deal with the traffic and public safety issue on this road, then in addition to input from staff and the engineering firm, you need input from the residents who have some interesting observations to give you, I think, about the appropriate placement for speed control devices. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dennis Evans?
Good evening, Dennis Evans. My wife Donna and I live at 75 Crown Road, and that is just below the break of the hill where traffic starts to speed up, even with the speed hump. First speed hump south of my south driveway at 49 Crown has rubber skid marks in front of it from a driver obviously going over the speed, trying to reduce their speed and not destroy their vehicle going over the speed hump there. About as far as from me to your counter there. So we would like to see the additional 4 speed humps installed that would control speed from vehicles breaking over the crown of the hill down to 49 Crown. Want to thank you for your looking at this and going forward with installing the 4 additional speed humps. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Garrison Gillespie?
Before I begin, members of the council, thank you for your time and opportunity to speak on the speeding and reckless driving our community is facing on Crown Road. Furthermore, I thank you for the progress we have made, but I'm here today to say it is not enough. Before I speak to the need of additional speed humps, regulation, and police presence from our Willow Park community, I want to speak to the results of inaction. On December 6, 2012, my best friend and the first love of my life was taken from me from a driver who had no regard to speed or the safety of his community. Reference image 1. Much like Crown Road, there was little to mitigate reckless driving, and motorists were free to drive with no regard to their community. That day, Jason Chad White decided to take advantage of those freedoms as he drove in excess of 113 miles per hour down a 30-mile-an-hour residential zone. The results of his actions were first striking Megan Michelle Rell, ejecting her from her vehicle at speeds 3 times greater than any studies performed by the NHTSA for vehicle safety. 4 cars later, countless trees, and ultimately my neighbor's home 2 blocks away brought his vehicle to its final stop. Reference images 2 and 3. Today, the man responsible for the death of a daughter, a sister, pre-med student, philanthropist, and the most selfless person I've ever met walks free. But to us, reference image 4, we are left with a single light pole wrapped in flowers and burlap. My question today to the council is what you consider nuisance and complaints from your community is worth the loss of such a beautiful life. Are community budgets, speed humps, and the lack of additional police presence not merited, even if it prevented just one tragedy as I've described? I'm here today to ask you to stand up for your community and to protect the innocent members of the Willow Park community and take action to reduce the risk of my tragic story happening in our community. You're going to be voting tonight to approve the installation of the remainder of the speed humps that this council has already approved in June. This is your chance to stand behind your promises and help ensure this never happens to anyone else under your watch. For my friend who's lost her life, and for those who live and commute on Crown Road, I urge this council to say yes once again and finish the job that we've started.
I'm sorry for your loss, and thank you.
Is that it?
Next item, report regarding update on flash vote.
No, sir. Y'all want to vote on the speed humps?
Yeah.
I didn't think we needed to
Do
vote
we
on it. I
need
thought
to
we
vote
just
on
do
the
it. We just do
You
it.
can authorize us to do it.
We're authorizing you to do it.
So the explanation on this, though, is that the speed humps, it was originally a study that was going to be done on the 3 that were installed, right?
Yes. We
So
did
the
3.
results were,
The goal was 85%.
right,
We did 3 to see if 85% would achieve it.
I recall that, yeah.
It met at the 75% level. At this point, you had a couple of options. I ruled some of them off the table just because you could raise the speed limit to 35 if you wanted to. It met the criteria for that. I didn't think that was a good idea. You could do 1 or 2 or 3 to see if you can still meet that extra 10 percentile. The cost for 2 is relatively small compared to the cost for 4. So staff recommendation Monday was to install the 4 speed humps.
Okay, and then the data that you collected, are we seeing still high-speed travel down that road? Or
You're seeing, I think Chase made this comment at the meeting yesterday, I think 75% of the vehicles are doing 33 miles an hour or less in a 30-mile-an-hour speed zone. That's not the goal that we wanted to achieve, but that's where you're at as of, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so when will we have the next 4 installed in about 6 weeks?
Upon y'all's orders, and I guess we just did it, Chase is in contact with the contractor. He'll be calling him tomorrow, and we'll start the installation as soon as possible.
We already have them installed, I mean, we ordered them already, didn't we?
We've already contacted
We've
the
got them
contractor,
already.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Okay.
They'll have to close the street down like they did previously.
All right.
Well, I'll comment on a couple of the comments on, yes, it did take a long time. I was involved in several meetings with staff. We ordered preformed speed humps that we decided would not work. So that was one of the first delays, is trying to figure out, one of the reasons for the 3 was if we have to install these, let's make sure we figure out how to do it correctly before we do 7 wrong. So there was a multiple reasons that we didn't start with 7. And it was not just financial, it was the learning curve of making sure we got it right. One concern that I never really had, but it was a valid concern to listen to that staff had, some members of staff, was some people really hate speed humps. And before we go out and put that out there, we want the residents to experience it and come back and say, yes, we still want all 7. We don't want them to have 7 speed humps and say, take away some.
Right.
So, because we can't do it once they're in. So it was kind of we wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity to see what it was and have feedback. And that was actually one of the concerns that was there, was if we put them in and everybody says, take it away, we're gonna have to say, well, we can't do that now, because that's just not possible once we've drilled into the road. So
Yep.
It went much slower than I think we wanted or intended it to. But I think we always had the intention of getting the full 7, or at least, that was
That
how
was
I
on the
viewed it.
table, it never was taken
Right,
off.
and so it was simply, let's make sure we don't spend taxpayers' money and have to undo it later. And the study, I think, showed, yes, we need 7. I think that was kind of one of the things, is if anybody wanted to say, y'all had overkill there, we now know we don't have overkill. We need all 7 humps to achieve what we need to, so. So yes, like I said, it took a lot longer. Hopefully we get those installed as quickly as possible. But the delay was somewhat thought out in why it was done this way, so.
How many, Chase, the first set of speed humps, how many holes were we going to punch into the concrete?
There was 300, it was just under 400 holes drilled in the concrete
Per speed?
Yeah, per preform.
Yes.
That was just one speed hump. It was just
400 holes punched into
Yes.
the concrete.
So if there were any issues, we were ripping out 20-foot panels of concrete, having to re-pour concrete, and then potentially put another speed hump right back in on top of it.
Yep.
So this will correct it. We're going to add the 4.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. We ultimately went with asphalt. I talked to a contractor, the contractor that put them in, he mitigated a lot of the issues that we had with asphalt. Speed humps are new for me, so I wasn't sure, but I talked to him in depth for an hour on the phone before we went that route, and he mitigated quite a few of the concerns that we had, so we moved forward.
We've been in contact him this week.
Yes, he actually sent me the email an hour ago, and I forwarded that to you.
Okay.
So, but scheduling wise, I'm not sure. He had pneumonia last week, so he missed the full week's of work, so it was hard to get in touch with him, but I got in touch with him Monday, and he emailed me an hour ago.
Okay.
Thanks, Chase.
Thanks, Chase.
Okay, thanks, Leah. Thanks, council. Item number 9, report regarding update on flash vote survey tool. Ms. Rose.
Good evening, council. Good evening, audience. I'm so thrilled to see you guys here for what I'm going to present tonight, because I think you guys will like to hear this. First of all, I would like to thank council for their foresight in helping the city have this tool to get citizen feedback. I think it just further reiterates the intention that both council and staff has to get feedback from the community and look at what the community's vision is for the future. We've been doing survey registration for the flash vote system for about 6 weeks now. We have tracked the various methods that we have used to try to get registration, and we've seen some really interesting data, even so far, on best ways to reach our folks. For those of you who have not seen it, this is a postcard that should have come in your mail within the last week or so. This is how you sign up for our surveys. Please tell your neighbors, please tell your friends. We want you guys to answer these questions from us. We're going to be sending out 6 surveys over the next 12 months, and we want y'all to do that. So please, I cannot encourage you strongly enough, please participate in this. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. On that note, the flash vote system itself does a short resident satisfaction survey when people sign up. We have had 151 participants so far. Results range from terrible to excellent, obviously. The vast majority of people say their satisfaction lies somewhere in the middle. There is an open-ended comment section at the end, which the 2 big issues that it has identified are, let's all be very surprised, roads and development. So one of the things I'm noticing from the comments is that we have a lot of opportunity for education with our residents about how their government works. A lot of these questions, a lot of these answers that I'm getting reflect to me that they don't understand how our processes work. And I think we have a real opportunity for education there. And I'm really excited to look at some of these responses and see what we can do in those places. We're going to continue to do registration for these surveys for a few more weeks. When the city finishes its registration process, Flash Vote will then begin their independent registration process. So we're looking at maybe mid-December before we really have those numbers. Once we have the numbers, we can break it down by how many signups we have in each neighborhood, by age demographic, things of that nature, homeowners versus renters. Then we can identify if there are any segments of the population that we don't feel like we have enough registered to canvass properly to reflect our population. We're going to do some individual pushes with those populations if we feel like there's any underrepresented areas. And then once we do that, we will lead with a survey related to parks and recreation opportunities and what our stakeholders and what our survey participants feel like is most important to them. We've already identified some things that we definitely want to look at. We've identified some questions that we definitely want to ask. We're going to start talking about those things, and then we're going to just kind of go from there on our next surveys that we have coming up after that and look at some other topics that we identified that we think are important to our residents, that you guys want some answers to those questions, and we'll start getting some results probably by the first of the year. Does anyone have any questions?
I've got a comment. This is unsolicited, by the way. So I was in the City Manager Study Club earlier this month, and one of the topics was Flash Vote actually came up. And so I had an opportunity to visit with the city manager of Georgetown. And she was very complimentary of Flash Vote and very complimentary of the feedback that we were getting. She did say getting initial responses was somewhat difficult, but they actually took that. I think they are producing, to your point, they're producing a magazine now. I'm not saying we're going to do that, but they're actually finding new ways to communicate to residents. And so I was encouraged by it.
It's an extraordinarily valuable tool. And I think it's going to give us a lot of really good ways on how we can connect more with the people that are here in Willow Park and how we can listen to them better.
Thanks, Rose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, we'll be going into executive session to study, discuss city secretary position, application, review, discussion, and consideration. Section 551071, the Bluffs of Willow Park Development Agreement. We're going into executive session at 6:55 PM. At 7:43 PM. There's no action taken. Any council comments?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving. Last council meeting was huge, historic. I thank everyone for their hard work. I would have liked to have been here. But I mean, how long did we work on that project? 7 months, 8 months?
15.
15 months. So I told Brian I was happy that you all were here to get it done, and I appreciate it. A big thanks to Brian, the staff, department heads, and the council for making that happen. I appreciate it very much. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Anyone else have anything to say?
Christmas tree lighting
Yep,
next Tuesday.
Yep, I was going to make, so December 3rd, we're doing the Christmas tree lighting out here. We'll have all kinds of fun festivities, and I think Santa Claus is coming, and so that'll be fun. It's always a good time. We will be closed tomorrow at lunch for Thanksgiving. We're doing our traditional employee potluck lunch, and I'm about to go home and smoke a brisket. And then we have... For the record, she's my next door neighbor. And the other next door neighbor's right over there. So.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion, comments?
I move we adjourn.
Thank you. Motion second. All in favor? 7:40. Thank you.